Bitcoin setting up in a bull flag, but will it actually play out as such where we actually get the breakout and it goes just as the pattern suggests, where you have the measurement from down here at the base of this and targeting up into that $136,000 level and then beyond to 160,000? Or are we going to see a bit of a washout, which we've seen over and over and over again in the last 6 months to a year on these patterns that suggest bullish movement, but have the bearish washout before it happens? Similarly with Ethereum pushed right into this zone that we've had perfectly marked out on this chart for quite some time, getting a little bit of a cooling position right now. Does this mean it's over for the altcoins? Are we not going to get the alt season, or is a crash, aka a necessary dip, setting up before we have that monster move to the upside? Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, ding the bell. We're about to dive into this. I got some incredible charts I'm going to show you, so let's get this retweeted.
Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. SEC and its policies rely on whatever Gary thinks. Bitcoin's a flight to quality. I heard that from Larry Fink. Every hour losing purchasing power on foolish out there. It's not our fault. Blame the cult. It's the political cowards. When it comes to gas, our purchasing power just got cut in half. I sit back and laugh, open my bag, fill it with stacks and sats. Bitcoin pumping, altcoins pumping. I've been preparing for this. Can't tell me nothing. And I believe.
The market is getting so exciting right now, and I can feel a lot of us are just chomping at the bones to see the breakout and just the race to price being higher. And it's these moments where the setup feels so sure that we're going to have incredible upside potential, which the potential's there. The question is, are you going to fall victim, which so many people are, to the emotions of a market downturn right now on the near term in the 1 hour, 4 hour, even daily chart, where we get a bit of a pullback, aka a washout, bear trap, before the price moves us higher? We're about to dive into this and talk about exactly what I think is going on, so I can help make sure that you're seeing the different sign signals and the ingredients that are going to suggest the probabilities about what's going to happen in this market. Because we got Bitcoin at $119,000, Ethereum still hovering in that very healthy zone at $3,722, as you can see right down here on the bottom right. Oh, you can't see it. Let me move this up just a touch. Boom, right there, 3,722. Coming into a zone that we are expecting a little bit of a softening, which we're seeing right now. Or is this sign that we're about to see a larger pullback? Maybe one more little pump here, setting up a head and shoulders, and the move down here into the 3,300s, potentially even back down here to 3,000. What would this mean for the altcoin market? But let's go ahead and zoom out a bit and talk to each other. Let's make sure that we're looking at the right data and not just falling victim to the bias of the situation. The bias right now is predominantly to the upside. Now, while this is incredibly bullish for where we think the market's going, again, I just want to reemphasize it. It's these moments that wreck the most people. While you might forecast the price go up, you might get caught in the chop before that price action actually happens, because there's so much heightened sensitivity of hope and fear and greed. And also that greed part, you might not realize it. If you're actively trading this range right now and doing it on emotional levels, the greed, even though you know this market is going to be going up over the next 3-6 months, you might end up be trying to overtrade right now, which will effectively, that greed of wanting to stack more and taking unnecessary risk will leave you holding a smaller bag. And that's not what I want for you. I want you to hold the bag of, just the gods. I want it just to be a green, 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 green. And sometimes you're going to have to learn how to sit in the red or buy in the red and not trade every absolute move. That's why we have our Discover Investments group, which is pinned to the top of the live chat right now there on YouTube. It's also pinned to the top of the live chat over there on Rumble. Make sure you get in there. We got Drew and Deezy and Joshua, Jake, myself, TJ, all in there. And of course, Tim as well, and DeFi Crypto Airdrops, sharing what they're seeing, sharing what's going on. And Gary Cardone in the house saying Bitcoin is the nicest gal in the market. Bitcoin is the thing everybody needs to be focused on. Absolutely, Gary. We got to make sure we're focusing on the bellwether of this market. Now, this is going to follow other things that we're seeing in terms of the context of certainty and uncertainty, like what we're seeing in the S&P 500, what we're seeing in the NASDAQ. We see this massive V-shaped recovery that's come back up into this zone. Now, while this is incredibly bullish, even with S&P 500, there's a lot of people that think this is just going to be mooning up and to the right. And unfortunately, the person that sold down here also bought the very top here because it finally broke past previous all-time high, but now we're back above it. I'm expecting to see this move, which I talked about in the Discord this morning, maybe a potential little bit of a cooling here. And if this happens, it's not the end of the market. In fact, this sets up the next leg to the upside, because what happens in every market, everybody, what happens in every market, if you have a bull trend, is a rise, a retrace, a continuation. The alternative to this is a rise, an accumulation sideways, chopping the living hell out of you, and then that little finally convincing people to sell with the bear trap, and then that launch, something like this. Now, one of these two things is going to happen, and this, even though this is not crypto, this is also showing you the health of what's happening in the broader markets, where we're at on that risk, uncertainty, certainty level in the markets, especially in the summer, which we have to all admit, Gary, if you're still listening, drop a comment in there. We have to admit, there tends to be a lot of times where people see one summer or 3 summers, or even if it's a cacophony of summers in a row, where they think that that's going to be the absolute rule for what's going to happen in markets. Typically, we have seen as of late in recent years, a little bit of a cooling of appetite in markets when you go into the summer. However, when you look at the last 5 years, we've also seen an inordinate amount of just ridiculous nature of just news events, everything from COVID to the supply chain and logistic issues that persisted afterwards, to then persistent inflation coming out of all those knock-on effects that we had following the world economy effectively shutting down in March of 2020. And we're still dealing with some of the impacts of some of the decisions that were made back in March of 2020 and persisting on through that. We're still dealing with that. Now what we see is we have a new administration, whether you like them or not. Remember, we're talking about markets here, not politics, but how those things in politics are affecting what's happening in markets, especially the outlook looking forward. So if you like altcoins, hallelujah to you. But you need to realize you are in an exponential risk curve there if you're in altcoins, and you still need to pay attention to what's Bitcoin's doing. And within Bitcoin, you still need to pay attention to what's going on in the stock market, with the also what's going on with the Fed, what's going on with monetary policy. All these things have forward-looking, forward impacting stimulus, but whether stimulating bullishly or bearishly the outlook of where things are going. So right now, while I am overwhelmingly bullish on this market, I am aware that there is potentially, more likely than not, going to be a bit of a shakeout in this market. So when we look at Bitcoin and we realize, oh, it's a bull flag, it's going to go up. Well, it might, but more often than not, especially with this much easier to move market than, for instance, gold and the stock market, I would suggest paying attention to the possibility that this shakes out. Actually, let me do this. I would look forward for a possibility of this actually breaking out like everybody wants, and then bull trapping them, coming down, bear trapping back below, finding equilibrium, a little, everybody's going to be licking their wounds here. And then you get that move to the upside. So be a little bit cautious here, be a little bit patient here, because there's a lot of work to be done before we get to that next level up. And that next level up for Bitcoin, I don't know why this always zooms in like that, but there we go. That next level up for Bitcoins, I'm targeting up here. Where is it at? I have the chart somewhere. 136 and then 150, 160. Here we go. $136,000, which would be the bull flag breakout target up here. And then the next target I'm looking at is about 159,000. And these are not where I think the market tops. Now, I'm going to be adaptable every step of the way. I'm going to make sure that I'm looking at the data, what's going on with the money flow, what's going on with the different discourse around monetary policy, when the Fed rate cuts are happening. If you remember, we have the FOMC meeting, I believe, next week. So let's look at that. Forex Factory. That's where I like to find, just has a good good calendar. Where is the calendar? Here we go. Let's see. What is this? Let's go into next. Can I look at next week? Here we go. Let's look. So we have is the FOMC meeting next week or the week after? It might be the week after. Is it the week? No, here we go. Let's see. Corp, that's July, Thursday. Where's FOMC meeting is Wednesday, July 30th. So a week from tomorrow, we get the indication about whether or not we're going to get earlier rate cuts than a lot of people are expecting. I know a lot of us think that they should have already happened. However, there's been some speculation about whether or not Jerome Powell is going to kind of fold in and give these rate cuts, or if it's going to take. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's going to be rate cuts this year. If it doesn't happen next week, then it's more likely not going to happen in September. If not then the following FOMC meeting in October. The longer it's pushed out, the more aggressive they'll likely be. When you understand that, then it doesn't really matter what's going to happen. But position yourself, one, in patience, but position yourself also with the understanding that the pressure in this market is to the upside. Why? Well, Bitcoin just broke out of a 4-year resistance. The 4-year resistance. I do believe very, very wholeheartedly that we are getting higher in this market. And it's my belief that we're not going to follow the exact 4-year cycle. Will we get a sell-off at some point this year? Yes. Will a lot of people be somewhat convinced, see, the 4-year cycle holds true? I believe that's going to happen too. And I think a lot of people are going to get left holding the bag when this market persists into the 2026 cycle, into July, into sometime at the end of Q3, maybe early Q4 of next year. And it has a lot to do with those rate cuts, has a lot to do with monetary policy, has a lot to do with the bills that have passed that are indicating that there's going to be a lot more money printing coming. But why? I mean, looking at this, we have a 4-year, this is 2021 back here, this double top, this projected out, this is where we had trouble. This is where we had trouble. This is where we had trouble again. We have broken through a 4-year trend line here. I'm looking at these targets up here, somewhere in the $188,000 range, somewhere in the $240,000 range, somewhere in the $322,000 Bitcoin range. Now, I'm not saying all three of these are going to get hit. These are my targets based on the velocity, the momentum that's carried forward with how many major corporate players get involved, how many pension funds are allocating, how many sovereign bodies are allocating, how much this carries forward into this astronaut zone, this hype target. I'm looking more and more into this little green box right in here, somewhere about the $200,000 range. But I'm not going to hold only for my trades. My long term, I'm holding regardless. But for the trades I'm taking, the positions, especially using this matrix to understand what I'm doing with altcoins, I'm not waiting until 322,000 before I start taking profit on alts. No, you need to have an exit strategy on alts at all time. You need to make sure you can pivot at the flip of a switch, because this market has been very, very, very exaggeratedly hyperbolic in terms of hope and fear. So you need to make sure in the alt market, you can pivot on a dime. In Bitcoin, if you're taking some position trades, watch these zones. Once we get up, I mean, honestly, I'd be a little bit cautious here. Once we hit this $160,000 range, I would, on my the positions that I'm trading, I would be starting to look at where you're rotating out and what you're rotating into, whether it's stables, whether it's this or that. But I would very, 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 very much recommend, for those of you that are trading, 99.9, if not all of you, are not professional traders. It is very hard to time the market. It's very hard to time the tops. It's very hard to time the bottoms. Now, right now, you're going to get a cacophony, just a never-ending flurry of people online that are talking about the 4-year cycle. Exit and then wait till it drops 70% and then you can enter. I don't know if that's ever going to happen again. Will we get another 70% drop? Yeah, likely, like we've seen in every market. However, I don't think it's going to be this 4-year cycle repetition like we've seen in previous cycles. My biggest fear for most people out there is they're going to take profits and then they're never going to find the entry that they want. Heed my words right now. This market can be somewhat predictable, but that is a farce. It can't. You can only stack probabilities based on a lot of different data that you're pulling together. And what's showing right now is, one, this sort of hope and fear excitement around this time's different, but then the persistent truth, which is this time ever really different? We have different stimulus, different things going on. I don't mean money stimulus. I mean variables that are affecting the market. Now, right now, a lot of people are assuming that this is just, we're going to go the 4-year cycle and we're going to have the sell-off. Then there's the other half of the cookie where there's a lot of people thinking we're never going to get a bear market again, like Michael Saylor says. Well, Michael Saylor says that, but he also has a deca-billion-dollar reason to make that statement. He wants people to stack. Now, will we never get a bear market? We have to just stay tuned to make sure we're watching, because when we're seeing that we do have a bull flag target right here, up to 136,000, and we have the larger inverted head and shoulders right here, target up to 160. I don't think this will be the top, but I could be wrong. You all need to take the information I'm giving you and plug that into your ingredients metric. Shout out to Caleb Peavy. How you doing? Hey, Kelly, my man. Can you look into Dia been sending? I'll take a look at Dia. Yeah, absolutely. But I want to get through some of these. So we have these targets up here. We also understand that it's not just about making money. If you don't trust government policy, Bitcoin's the thing. If you're worried about national debt, Bitcoin is the thing. Are you aware of your money being devalued? Bitcoin is the thing. Is there any other asset out there that's provably scarce and trustless? No, Bitcoin is the thing. It's transparent, it's durable, all of this. And on top of that, if you are in it to make money, the early adopters will also be wildly wealthy. It is still early, even at $120,000. And we're looking at these targets up in this zone because we just entered the world races to stack Bitcoin stage right here. And if you want to see this tweet, if you want to share it, if you want to get your other friends and family on board, head over to my page. It is on my page. I have the top target here, but it's right down here. I posted this again with all of this information. Share this out to your friends and family. But we also have some other major things. It's a little cautious here, guys. Bitcoin saw outflows. The ETFs saw outflows, guys. But that was also $130 million worth of outflows after $6.6 billion in inflows. This is a type of headline that makes people get all scared and they don't understand. They're not looking at the data. This is not an outflow. This is a minuscule retrace with some people taking some profit. So when we're looking at the data versus the headlines, we realize it is up and to the right. And this is just, we got a couple stories that I'm sure you've seen other places. $410 billion PNC Bank partners with Coinbase, offering crypto services. What else we got? We got $4 trillion giant JP Morgan is now planning to offer crypto-backed loans. JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, not so long ago, Bitcoin is a pet rock. Now, what are they doing? They're being forced. They're being behooved. They're being compelled to enter the Bitcoin and digital asset game because it's the best asset market in the world, in the history of the world. And it is, God, this is freedom money. And right now we're seeing corporations and banks racing to try to figure out how they can get their share because they're getting displaced by this asset because it is so much damn better than everything they've got going on. But then we also see Cathie Wood and ARK Invest bought 4.4 million shares of Tom Lee's new treasury Ethereum company. In addition to that, we also saw the Ethereum machine just announced that they have $1.5 billion worth of ETH. Tom Lee also committed or said basically the plan is to stack another $20 billion into ETH. Joe Lubin's also got $5 more billion that they want to stack into ETH treasuries. We're starting to see a huge momentum swing for those out there looking at ETH. And this is overwhelmingly good for altcoins, but there's a little bit of a caveat here. Just because ETH moves this time doesn't mean it's going to be the ultimate signal for alts. Know that. Much like with Bitcoin, Bitcoin also is seeing buying pressure from all these Bitcoin treasury proxies. Great. A lot of that took some attention and capital away from the altcoin market, but that's okay. People that are out there on Wall Street actively trading or actively investing, rotated people that are having pension funds getting, activated into things like MicroStrategy and stuff. Those people weren't going to buy altcoins, so that didn't matter. Within Ethereum, now people are thinking if ETH moves, it's going to be the same for alts. Maybe not this time. I think alts are still going to do very well. Very select few of alts are going to do incredible and going to persist into the future. But you need to be Bitcoin focused. And now when we're looking at ETH and alts, and we know that alts are likely going to move, not everything, but now that we have Ethereum treasuries that are going to be stacking tens of billions of dollars into Ethereum, that money is not necessarily going to also then capital rotate into your other favorite altcoins. Know that. You need to be very diligent about what sort of research you're doing on your coins and seeing where they're getting real partnerships and integrations across the board on TradFi, Web 2 and Web 3, as well as, other areas you can speculate in. But then you look at Link. This is why I'm such a fan of Link. Is it really going to do it? Link's boring. It hasn't really done much. Well, let's go ahead and look at Link, because Link is about to melt some faces. Are we going to have a crash in Link? Maybe. That crash would represent a move from where we're at right now back into potentially the $16. But that wouldn't bother me if that happened. If it really pulled back, I'd really be looking at about 17, low 18s. But if it pulled back in here, I think this would be a gift. Why is that? Because with Link, we've got, check this out. Is Link really boring? Just look at some of the integrations and partnerships that Link has. Swift, MasterCard, Euroclear, I got the hiccups, JP Morgan, Clearstream, Franklin Templeton, Fidelity, Citi, Bank, UBS, BNP, Wellington, SBI. I mean, the amount of integrations and implementations and partnerships that Link has is nothing short of monumental, suggesting massive fundamental layer being built for a platform for Chainlink to just take a springboard leap and launch off of, especially considering their fees going live, I believe, later this year in November. This would be monumental for Link. So Bitcoin's got the right integrations, partnerships, and that regulatory go ahead. Ethereum now has all those, and it's not a security, and staking's not a security, and it now has ETH treasuries getting stacked into. Now altcoins. Now you got to start looking on the utility side like it's a business. Chainlink has that. Solana has that in a good part. We see Avalanche is really getting substantiated in that way. We see Cardano is getting very tied in with some of the things going on with Bitcoin, also with Midnight and some of the other things that they're doing. We also see other players like bittensor, which I talk about. Why do I talk about some of these coins all the time? It's because many of the coins that I'm really focused on, it's because I believe they've got a very, very integrated list of partners and integrations and how they're being deployed, utilized. Aerodrome is another one we talk about all the time. Well, why is that? Because Aerodrome is the DEX on Base. Base is the chain from Coinbase. Coinbase is the largest US exchange. In addition to that, Coinbase recently announced they're going to be integrating their DEX, their Base ecosystem, into access on their Coinbase just general app. So that gives a huge amount more potential liquidity and volume to that. And Aerodrome is the DEX. It's also processing and managing, like, for instance, a Base wrapped Bitcoin for what we're going to, I really think we're going to see a lot of institutional grade DeFi being utilized through the Base ecosystem. And that would be managed through the Aerodrome DEX, the largest DEX that Base has. And Coinbase put $100 million market, not limit, not behind closed doors, but $100 million market buy. I think it was last year or the year before? Last year, I believe, when we brought this to everybody's attention. Aerodrome's one of the best performing assets in my portfolio right now. And so I've got a percentage of my portfolio in Aerodrome, and I'm very bullish on this. Now, I will say we do have a bit of a rising wedge here. However, this base that comes all the way across here that's now resistance, this also is kind of coming right into fruition at this 382 of this macro move. If we were to get a little bit of sell-off here, it wouldn't shock me if we had Aerodrome come back down to 86 cents, potentially even back down here to 78 cents. But I would be bullish on that because I understand the fundamentals and the landscape and the roadmap of what's coming. Or at least I think I have a good estimation of it based on all the research that I've done. So a sell-off on an asset that has an incredibly bullish roadmap going forward, that's honestly getting deployed. It's not like a promissory roadmap. It's real integrations, real deployment. That tells you that if you're very bullish, if you get that dip, take advantage of it. So a crash, like my thumbnail, the crash that we may see on Bitcoin, on Ethereum, on altcoins, to me is an overwhelming buy opportunity for the assets that you understand, not every asset. We also see here on Total 3, look at this moonshot. This is everything outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. This is, just coming up, but it's not there yet. You see this nice move, but it's still a lower high. In fact, we have a bit of a trend line there. I'm just noticing this, that we did break out of, but we're flirting with right now. If this can hold above this, this would be fantastic. We really need to get above this 1.16 trillion. And then ultimately, let's see where the all-time high is. So yeah, 1.16 trillion. Okay, so we need to get above 1.16 trillion to get into price discovery for the total 3 chart. Others, yes, we got the breakout. Great. What people forget in markets and all your altcoins that are pumping, you get so excited when the market's pumping, you forget a key function of every bull trend. And I'm going to say it again. When you have a rise, you always have some either sideways or a retrace and then continuation. So it's either rise, retrace, continuation, or rise, chop, sideways, accumulation. Is it distribution, wash up, boom, and then launch? That's while it's a bull trend. But the thing about bull trends is at some point, bull trends come to an end. So if you do get the rise, retrace, bounce, and this is a lower high and it reverses, that's a reversal. So you need to understand the mechanics of trends to really understand what's going on here. Now, let's get back over to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, we've talked about some of these levels. Some of these levels, where's that chart at? This green box, I still think we have a pretty decent likelihood for this to come down and fill into this green box. Now, why is that? Well, first off, we have the Bitcoin futures gap, which is right in that kind of zone, that 114 to 115. But Kelly, why is your box a little bit lower on this chart? Well, see this 18.9? Let's look at Bitcoin futures, 119.3. You see this? This is higher than what we're seeing here. So if that was 114 to 115, look at this. This is 112 up to 114. It's roughly about the same. But in addition to that, we've got, this previous range high right in here. It's also, I kind of get the feeling like if this comes back, it's not going to come back and fully test this range high. I feel like this would be more of a bear trap before coming up if it plays out. But when we look at this on the 4-hour, the volume is diminishing. We have positive money flow. So this is good. The RSI is holding. It's getting just trapped right in this 50 zone. So it's not bullish or bearish. So we're not getting real clear signal here. I sit on my hands when I'm not getting real clear signal. Now, if this does break out, there's going to be a caveat here. If this does break out and bounce, right, when it comes down right back to this trend line, I'm not necessarily buying. I'm going to want to see this. What I'm talking about here specifically is short-term trades. I'm not talking about my long-term holdings. If this does bounce and it starts moving up, I want to see, as the price action is moving up and it confirms a breakout, I want to see the money flow also agreeing and the strength holding up as well. If this comes down and starts moving up and the money flow is going down, I'm not taking that position, because that's where we get that move that I was talking about, where you get the bull trap, bear trap, equilibrium move. So you got to be a little cautious right now if you don't already have a position that you're riding. Now, again, if this moves down, even down here to 109, that wouldn't worry me. I would still be bullish 107. Even a move down to flush out that 92K. The overwhelming landscape here is screaming up, up, up. Now, the dollar is even echoing this. When we look at the dollar, we've talked about this before, the risk matrix I did some months ago. When the dollar broke this, I was signaling for risk on. Look at that. This was right about that week of April 7th, when the market rebounded. When the dollar broke this level and came down, that's also when Bitcoin rebounded and started going up. So we want to see this going down to further indicate that we're in a risk on mode for Bitcoin to continue to persist with confidence higher. Now, there's a little bit of a cautionary tale here with the dollar, and that is in the near term, this is starting, look, this is some momentum, a lot more momentum, smaller momentum. How can we tell? Because this is not moving as fast to the downside. So we may be getting a little bit of a rounding bottom for a little bit of a hesitation here before a continued move to the downside. If that's the case, it also would mean that the Ethereum pumpage Bitcoin and Ethereum, cryptos pumpage might slow down for a little bit. It wouldn't be the end of the world. We just saw a big move up to 123,000. Let the market kind of shake the weak hands off. You're not going to be one of those weak hands, and then we can continue higher. But then we also got, let's look at some of these other things. Solana went right up. It's not quite there. We talked about breaking 177. We broke it, pushing up. It wouldn't be the end of the world if this had a little bit of a cooling back into the 180s, 180, upper 180s. If this even came all the way back to here at 174, why wouldn't that be shocking? Because that is a multi-year trend line. It comes back to 2021. So if this came back to this level, a 4-year trend line, that wouldn't shock me. Okay. If this is able to persist up into this first, that'd be fine as well. But I feel like we're kind of in a little bit of a hesitation mode in the market right now because things are looking so bullish. And look at this on Ondo. Beautiful W formation. But what are we starting to see on the 3-day charts? Big momentum, smaller, bigger momentum. Now spinning top, doji, meaning there's a lot of momentum bullish. Now look, it's equal, bulls and bears. Now look, bulls tried, bears dominated. Okay, so let's look at this on the 8-hour. What does this look like? Well, we got this rising channel, essentially. This is a rising channel right here. See that? Rising, I can just see it with my eyes. Rising channels tend to break bearish. In addition to that, we've got the momentum, a lot of momentum, much weaker momentum. You can tell by the difference in the highs. See how much higher this high is? See how much not that much higher this high is? Money flow is still agreeable, but it's starting to contract a bit. This is on the 8-hour. RSI is looking a little weak here. We have bearish divergence going into this. See this? Bearish divergence, the tops of the RSI descending while the tops of the price going up, meaning it was getting weaker as it was getting higher. If this is if this is able to hold in here and then continue up, great. But this signals to me, if we don't get some bullish indication, or, for instance, I know Ondo's got some big news coming, so maybe that news rolls out and nullifies us. But this is telling me that we may get a little bit of a washout down. I'll be looking at an opportunity about 95 cents. I think would be a great opportunity because at this point, when the price came down there, this moving average will come right up about into that zone as well. See this, where's my drawing tool? Coming right up into this. If this broke down into here, that wouldn't be shocking. And then getting the move just means more time to stack. It just means more time to stack. Somebody wanted to see Dia. Let's look at Dia. Let's see. Do we have any super chats? No super chats. All right. We're going to be, we got 2,633 people. Before we do the last couple coins, I just want to ask humbly, patiently, and well-adjustedly. First, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you. But if you're watching and you have not hit that like button, show some love. It's the easiest way. It does affect our business. When you guys hit like, even if you hit dislike, it gives the same advantage to the algorithm. It tells the algorithm that you're paying attention, you're watching. It pushes us out to more people. We're giving you this content for free. Show some love. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. Show some love there too. If you're watching on Rumble, we started this about a month and a half ago. Make sure you're following. Show some love here. Hit the like button. If you're watching on X, right here, make sure you're giving me a follow. Make sure you're giving at Academy BitLab a follow. Show some love. Hit the like button. Retweet this out to your friends and family. Big love to everybody that is tuned in. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. And when you guys engage, even when you get in the live chat, if you're watching like this, look, there's a live chat right here. You can get involved. It says loading. It'll load here in a second. There's a live chat. Get involved, whether it's on, I don't know why you can't see that, but yeah, whatever. There's a live chat. I can see your live chats. That's where I saw Gary tweeting, getting involved there earlier. But let's look at Dia. Is that what we're looking at? Dia, USDT said that it's on a rip. Let's go. Oh, look at that pumpage, baby. That's a nice move. That's a very nice move. All right, so let's go out to the daily. We talked about this. Look at this. Slice right through the zero, right through the golden pocket, right through the 786. But what was this based on? Okay, so that's a full move from up here all the way to down here. Now we have this smaller move. Let's go ahead and delete that because that's played out. Let's measure this actually. Option F to the bottom. So look at where this went. If you measure this from the top to the bottom, the price action went right. Look at this. It's not even funny. Top to bottom, price action goes right to the 2.618. And it's kind of sitting here in this, right in the 786 zone. If this does sell off, I'd be watching for a move, and that's, yeah. So if this does sell off a little bit of profit taking, a little bit of a rise, retrace continuation, I'd be looking for D to come back to about 94 cents, maybe potentially a little lower, about 90 cents. If it formed a bull flag or something here, that'd be great. But you see how this larger momentum, a little bit smaller. If this does roll over somewhere in this pocket, I think it'd be great for like a bull flag or something. But that's the daily. What does it look like on the 4 hour? 4 hour. Okay. Price action. Look at this massive move to the upside. Something's not right here. Massive move to the upside while money flow went negative. So this tells me, this kind of gives me a little bit of caution, because this is great. This is great, but it just doesn't feel healthy. I'd be a little cautious here, looking for a little bit of a reset, maybe. And look at that move that I talked about down into the 90s. This moving average will come right back up into there by about that time. The money flow does look like it's trying to flip positive here, though. So I would be a little bit cautious on this. That's a nice move. I'm not saying don't, it's bad to be in it. I'm just saying let's delete all this other stuff. It's made a pretty big move. So I'd be watching for a little bit of the rise, retrace, continuation. I'd be looking for a little bit of a pullback or a bull flag here before the next move. Bittensor Tau also given some choppiness. We came into the zone. We talked about the zone. It rejected. Boom, popped out of the zone. Popped out of the zone. And now this has just been consolidating in this area that we talked about. It's doing exactly what we've been talking about here. Now, I mean, look at this. On the 4 hours, just starting to push up. Money flows positive. RSI is holding the 50 line. Why does that matter? When on a time frame you're looking at, you could tell if the bulls or bears are in control on a very loose level. If the RSI is maintaining above the 50 line, meaning the strength side, or if it's getting rejected and staying in the lower half, the lower 50% side, which means you're more on the weaker side. So this is maintaining above the 50 line. The money flow is coming up, and this is looking like it's trying to attack. Look at this. Inverted head and shoulders, kind of got the move, kind of shake out. This looks like it kind of want to make a move, but what? Yeah, it's looking strong, guys. It's looking strong. But everybody, that's all we got today. I love you. I appreciate you. Hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. It's a Tuesday, July 22nd. I think we got some new stuff going on here at Discover Crypto. So I believe, let me just check. I believe Drew is streaming right now on Discover Crypto. Yes, they are. So I'm going to shoot it back over to Drew himself. He's going to be doing some afternoon streams. I'm going to be doing some morning streams on Discover Crypto here in a couple of weeks. So let's get into it, guys. Show some love. Let them know the BitLab fam is there. Let's see. Discover Crypto. Is he? Is he not? I'm confused as I can be right now. Let me look live. I don't see anything, so I'm not really sure what's going on. Is it blockchain basement? I don't know. Very confused. Well, if Discover Crypto streams, go show them some love. That's all we got today, everybody. I love you. Appreciate you. See you all in the next one. Adios. Adios, muchachos.